I always hate to disturb a group of regents when they're chatting over here. I do that with some peril, I suspect. Thank you so much for coming. It's a great honor to see all of you. I appreciate very much the effort you took to come and to be present. This is a very intense event for me because just a few months ago, all of you were strangers, and now I can count many of you as friends and all of you as colleagues, and I appreciate the opportunity to come to you and present this evening. Leaders seem to feel compelled to present state of the whatever addresses, and I think it has more to do with us than it has with you. I hope it has value to you. It certainly has value to me. It forces me to think about the school, to think about where we are, to think about what we're doing, to think about our vision, and at least you'll understand what I'm thinking about as part of this. But let me begin with some special introductions. We have visiting dignitaries here. If you would just welcome, maybe en masse, as I read off some of our guests, Regent James Dean Levitt, Regent Cedric Creer, Regent Kevin Page, Regent Mark DeBrava, Regent Kevin Melcher is in Elko, I believe, Regent Anderson, Commissioner Mary Beth Scow was coming. Did she make it? No. And President Johnson, who is here. I'm very honored by your attendance. And President Bart Patterson of Nevada State College. Where's Bart? Thank you. I'm honored by your attendance, and I appreciate it very much. So this has been about a 16-month journey for me, starting back in August of 2010. And during the course of interviewing and the transition, and now more or less 5 months in place, I've learned quite a bit. It's been a very intense time, and I want to share some of that with you. Let me start a bit with personal introductions. I've had a chance to do this to some extent with several of you. As you know, I'm a family physician. I come from a very large and research-intensive, very powerful institution, the University of Michigan. Some people wondered about that move from an institution like that to a smaller community-based school. And what I came to conclude was that there was a tremendous fit in sort of an odd kind of way. And I guess it's up to you to judge whether that's really the case. But for me, it feels like a tremendous fit. In terms of some of my background in primary care, a research-intensive institution, and some experience there, a very strong and powerful practice plan, which is a huge issue for this school. So a number of things seem to be a good fit. Ultimately, I think leaders want to have impact, want to be able to make a difference, and I felt like there was a good chance that I could bring something and work with all of you and make that difference. Some of you, I think, worry from time to time about the number of problems that we have, the number of problems that have come to me. I have a little comment about that from General Colin Powell. He said to his commanders, "The day soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you have stopped leading them. They have either lost confidence that you can help them or concluded that you do not care." So I'm happy to report to you that based on the number of problems that all of you have brought to me, I'm feeling very good about my leadership at the moment. Ultimately, it's a great privilege to work in academic medicine, and I think the opportunity to work together to solve these problems is a tremendous opportunity. And ultimately, the reason I'm here is because of all of you, because of the people with whom we get to work. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are, a few numbers, just so you have a little picture. I get the sense that sometimes most of the school does not totally understand the totality of what goes on. I have the privilege of going back and forth. I want to do a little SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and strengths, just to give you a sense for what I've seen. That will lead to a little comment about vision, and I want to finish talking about culture, because culture trumps everything in terms of who we are, how we behave with each other, and how we go forward. I think it's important to understand our weaknesses, for example. I think it's important to deal honestly with problems and with the situations that face us. This is what's called in the business world quite often the Stockdale paradox, which has to do with Admiral Stockdale, who was a very prominent prisoner of war in Vietnam, and he talked a lot about what it was like to be a prisoner of war, the difficulty in trying to deal with reality and to deal with the difficulties of the moment at the same time that you sort of kept your vision for the future and where you would like to go. And because of that, these state of the school addresses have an odd sort of mix, somewhere between a funeral and a halftime locker room pep talk. And I'll just leave it to you to sort out which pieces are which. But I think that there's an odd kind of construct when you're trying to deal with difficulties at the moment, but trying to have some vision for the future. So let's talk a little bit about who we are. Just some numbers so you get a sense for what this looks like. 253 medical students, 94 doctoral and 54 master's students for a total of 148 graduate students. Roughly 250 residents, about to be 320 over the next few years because of the increased allocation. 28 fellows, almost certainly going to go up. If you count all faculty members, including clinical faculty members and adjuncts and people who contribute in various ways to the school, 467 faculty members, which is roughly 20% of the total in the UNR system, so it gives you a sense of proportion. 136 staff members, which interestingly is only about 12% of the total staff members at UNR. So proportionately more faculty members than staff members, a very lean organization, I think that would suggest. But on top of that 136, 501 practice plan staff members. So a huge separate organization in the practice plan that to some extent dwarfs the staff size of the School of Medicine. Total patient visits over 400,000, about 408,000. Total budget of the school, 160 million. The research budget, about 21 million. Practice plan budget, about 60 million. State support, about 30 million. So what's interesting about those numbers is that state support, hospital contracts, which I didn't give, research support, roughly similar sized components to the budget, each of them a third to a half of the practice plan budget. So the practice plan budget is huge. It's not as huge as in some schools. It's about 40% of the budget for this school. It's 50 or 60% in many schools. It's clearly the driver of medical school budgets. And the state support is roughly half that, and the state support is roughly equal to other components. So from the school's perspective, to say that we are a state-supported school is not quite right in the sense of overall budget. However critical that support is, that 30 million is an incredibly important piece for which we're very appreciative. But we're really kind of state-assisted in the sense that roughly 83% or so of the budget comes from some other source. So, a little bit of a picture of who we are. Let's talk about strengths. One strength is that we exist. And I know that seems like kind of a low bar, but it's not as low as you might suppose. Schools are going through tremendous transformations across the country, not necessarily closing, but significant restructuring, transformations in various ways, closing programs, moving programs, very chaotic in academic medicine, very stressful time. And so the fact that we continue and that we persist in the face of significant difficulties, that all of you have had dedication in what you do, that you have pride in what you do, and that despite all the miseries, we are still here and we are still okay, should not be discounted. I've been impressed since I arrived with your commitment to education. I think we have excellent students, residents and fellows. You are committed to our trainees, both medical students and grad students, as well as trainees. And there's a definite commitment to excellence in education, and you have shown that over and over, especially again in the face of tremendous pressure on clinical revenue, tremendous pressure on research revenue, and you have maintained a focus on education, which I think is important. We are the single public medical school in the state. I think that's a huge strength. One of the attractions actually for me was to have the opportunity to lead a single school in a state such that the school has tremendous potential for opportunities and for influence. The statewide mission is huge. I come from a state that has 8 medical schools, all squabbling, all fighting, chopping up different pieces of the state. Lots of tension, no real focus on the state's needs as a whole. This school has that and can have that. We also have a special niche. So this is a very odd school in terms of its construct. Community-based, very research intensive. And there are historical reasons for that I won't go into. But on a research dollar per FTE basic science faculty member, this is a very highly rated school. It's not huge relative to some of the large schools, but it's a very high number in terms of funding per FTE, probably one of the top 3 or 4 in the country. So it's a very exciting construct in terms of this research infrastructure, this research base that informs a community-based school, and that's something that I think is going to turn out to be very important over time. Other strengths, the Reno facilities are tremendous strength. I know most of you don't benefit from those directly. Most of you may not have even seen them. You should. They're tremendous facilities and in their way contribute to your mission here in terms of allowing us to expand the size of the medical school, certainly allowing us to turn out even more excellent students than we have up to this point. The technology in the Pennington Health Sciences building is extraordinary. In my humble opinion, and obviously biased at this point, it's the best medical education building in the country right now. The technology is extraordinary. And the molecular medicine building equally exciting. And we actually have space. We have space to which we can recruit, which almost no school in the country can say. We have major hospital, healthcare partners, another strength. And there are many more things. I always hesitate to do this because I'm inevitably going to leave things out that you think are important. But I think that's a bit of an overview of the strengths. So, weaknesses. You have to lead off this list with North-South politics. And there's just no way around that issue. And I don't want to belabor the point, but it would be important to mention it at least. I believe, as an outsider coming in, that the school has been harmed by the North-South tensions. The school has become a bit of a ping pong ball and getting bounced around, and I think that's unfortunate. I understand there are lots of reasons for that. I don't want to go into the long, 40-year war that's played out here, but I think it's important to try to solve it. I think the school can be the potential for a solution there, and we're going to overcome this one way or another. But even beyond the politics, the geography is a weakness. There's no question about that. Would it be nice if all of our resources, all of our people, all of our facilities, all of our partners were all in one place? Yes. That's not going to happen. So we deal with the situation as it is. I think it can be solved, and I think it's a dominant driving piece of the vision to help the state understand that this is a school for the entire state, and that every person has a stake in the success of this school. So it's an extraordinary weakness, although I think there are ways around it. The state economy is a huge weakness, and again, we have little control over that. I think the relative protection of the medical school's budget is a huge compensation for that situation, but it is still the fact that the economy is weak. It's not going to explode anytime soon. If we can sort of stabilize and maybe move a bit from there, that would be good. Other weaknesses. I think that we are a bit isolated academically. I think we're a little provincial. I think people need to get out more. I think